Money for nothing, Baker Mayfield for free, Mulsey. Mary Kay Cabot, she's been covering the Browns since Otto Graham was the quarterback up there in Northeast Ohio.
Unbelievable here.
It's okay. Mary Kay's not listening. She's going to be on tomorrow, though.
Well, let's make sure that we ditch this part of the audio here.
And pouncing on Baker Mayfield. Hey, the Steelers did it with Joe Hayden. They pounced. As soon as he got cut, they were right there on his doorstep, promising him driving services and Jordans and a membership at Oakmont and a big contract. And he turned out pretty good for the Steelers. This is a whole different
Joe Hayden, actual good football player.
Ball of wax, is that saying?
Yeah.
Is that about earwax or about a different kind of wax?
Like candle wax? What other kinds of wax are there? When you say wax, I think of earwax.
Me too. But you're not supposed
but there's candle wax.
You're not supposed to use Q-tips anymore.
Because it pushes it further in.
Does it damage to the eardrum?
Dude, you want to know something? I went for a physical a couple years ago, and they said, hey, you've got a lot of waxy buildup in your ears. Do you want us to use like the elephant, they call it? It's
the
like
water
the water gun. You want to know what? Okay.
Did they use it?
Yeah, because I said, sure, why not? Let me clean the old ears out, right? Who can resist the old, clean the ears out. Sure, I work in radio. I get the bill for the appointment, and it was not overwhelming, but listed as an itemized thing, surgery, ear. They called that surgery.
How much it cost?
Like $50.
Insurance didn't cover it?
No, it was like an elective procedure.
Did they tell you that up front, or did they charge you after the fact?
I think that one might have been a little bit under the radar there.
Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. He is a better quarterback than anyone the Steelers have on the roster. However, it's not that simple. He's a douchebag. So that's really what it comes down to here, is that even if you were to acquire him for next to nothing, as Mary Kay Cabot put it, he has a reputation now in the league of being a jerk and rubbing people the wrong way from the top down. Guys in that locker room didn't like him. And so why, if a quarterback is average at best,
if everything around him has to be perfect for him to find success, and even then it feels dicey sometimes, and he's a jerk who no one likes,
and he's so sensitive. They were fighting two things there in Cleveland. They knew what was best for their offense was to run the ball, but they felt like if they became too heavy run and so much of a run-first offense, it was going to tick off Baker Mayfield and alienate him.
They put him out there when he clearly wasn't healthy enough to be an effective football player, and they had a perfectly fine, great actually, maybe the best backup in the league in Keenum behind him because of his ego.
They made Freddie Kitchens a head coach for that reason. He might be the most incompetent, underqualified, in over his head coach in NFL history. And they did it because Baker liked him. I mean, they kowtowed like crazy, and when the Browns didn't, he got perturbed and put off by that. So that's the issue. I know the Steelers we're now living in this brave new Steelers world where we look at all of these retread, pick them up at Goodwill or the thrift store quarterbacks, and we're like, well, is it a good buy? Is it a good value? Is it does it beat what we already have, which isn't much? We're like running everything through that filter now. I get that. But I just would not, how could I live with myself when I have openly mocked and made fun of this guy for going on 3 years, and now I'm going to, even in some very small way, endorse the idea of the Steelers kicking the tires on him? I can't do that. You've even done a 180 on Baker Mayfield. You bought your kid a Baker Mayfield sweatshirt at one point.
No, I bought myself one of those. And
you bought something for him.
Yeah, I bought him a little Baker Mayfield jersey. That one's going in the discard pile.
He's probably outgrown that. How about kid number 2? Are you guys going to do any hand-me-downs?
Oh, are we?
You were clothed in hand-me-downs, weren't you, with the big brother?
Although I was so much fatter and bigger than him that a lot of them never really worked for me.
Which is a perfect segue. If you want to go to @937 The Fan or my Twitter, you can see our 40s from yesterday at Pitt Pro Day.
So I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a tough day for me out there yesterday. And Jagoff Brewer tweets, though, you may have
yes, that wealth of knowledge. I can't wait to get his 2 cents on things.
He wrote of the 40s, you may have lost, but at least your running motion doesn't look like it belongs outside of a retail store. And then he had those things, the things that get blown up that twist in the wind. I don't even want to ruin it. Just go look at the video. It's not a great day for your old pal Mulsey. The Baker Mayfield thing is when you bring in Joe Hayden, that's pretty simple. He is a veteran. He wants to win. He plays a position where you're on an island on the field, and you might be a leader in the room, and I think guys really liked Hayden. But, like, do you do your job? Do you cover the opposing team's best wide receiver? Do you shut down a side of the field, relatively speaking? He did that job. It was obvious that he wasn't in their plans rebuilding, which, by the way, was around the time they were thinking about drafting a guy like Mayfield. If you were to take the same $2 DVD bin purchase, like for Donnie Football, it would be, oh, wow, Schwarzenegger's Predator, Commando, and True Lies on a 3-pack DVD for $6? Sign me up.
By the way,
I never on that guy to lead your whole franchise.
I never end up watching the movies I buy on Blu-ray or DVD. They just sit there, and then I wait for the movie to come
out
on
on
TV.
Streaming?
No, like I don't even. If I buy a classic movie like Animal House, for example,
yeah,
I have an Animal House DVD somewhere in my house. I never have a moment where I
I'm
say,
like,
I'm going to go
down,
watch.
pop it in.
Yes. But if I turn on TBS at 11 o'clock and it just so happens to be on, I'm there.
So time out. So the extra step of opening DVD.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Opening DVD. You've turned on the TV already. Popping on DVD player, Blu-ray player, whatever. Putting DVD in player and hitting play.
Mm-hmm.
That 10-second set of steps
I know.
is enough to dissuade you from ever doing it.
Yeah.
That is an incredible admission.
I never go back and watch any of the movies that I own, that I have hard copies of.
But okay, so saying that, why would you ever buy another hard copy movie?
You
know you don't buy them.
I know, I've stopped myself.
You don't watch them. Okay.
So I'm not even tempted by the $2 price. Anyways, you were saying about Baker Mayfield.
With Mayfield, too, it's not, again, the difference between he and Hayden, because that's the obvious parallel you draw, is, he costs nothing, great. You are bringing him on. I do agree with you. He's better than anybody on the Steelers roster, even though I have soured majorly on him. You're bringing him on with a whole extra set of baggage that he brings and also expectations that you kind of have for him.
Mitch Trubisky's got a great attitude right now. I have a hard time believing that it's going to translate onto the field and he's going to have great success.
But one thing you can't do is rip the hell out of the way he's approached the job. He said all the right things.
Yes.
He's not going to rock the boat. Baker's going to come in and, oh, by the way, are you pairing him with Matt Canada, who has a reputation for being a little sandpapery, to say the least? That's what you're doing?
At least with Roethlisberger, say what you will about him at the end of his career, but if he treated people poorly, for example, Mason Rudolph, you could argue that he earned the right to do so by winning 2 Super Bowls and always having the Steelers competitive. That he had reached a point where he didn't have to be kind or polite to people or nice to people, and he could do what he wanted because he was a real franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield acted that way by all accounts and has accomplished next to Bupkis in the NFL. Congratulations on all your success. You came to Pittsburgh and you won a playoff game and you introduced yourself to some guard who you had never met before,
Blake,
in the huddle in the middle of that game. That is your shining moment along with your commercial work, and that's really it for him.
I would like to stress that just because you're a really good quarterback doesn't give you license necessarily to be a jerk.
But
it does give you
tolerate it.
But it does give you cover to be a jerk.
Well, that's why Colbert would always kiss Ben's fanny. 52 kids. I'd like to congratulate Ben for taking a pay cut and coming back.
You want to turn the show
contentious? And you talked to Colbert yesterday, and you talked about North Catholic basketball with him.
Don't distract.
So don't put your man Colbert down right now, Chris.
Don't distract, though.
You guys did your secret North Catholic handshake. I watched it in person,
it was a fist bump.
and I watched Matt Canada's dirty look and the way Tomlin looked at you when you did that.
No, Tomlin, I don't even know if Tomlin acknowledged me. Canada did, and Canada was not happy with my existence there. But don't distract here from what I'm about to say. You want to turn this show contentious in a hurry?
No, I don't.
Baker Mayfield is also better than last year's Ben. A healthy Mayfield is better than Ben. You say, oh,
yeah, but he wasn't a healthy quarterback last year. So
presumably he will be this year.
How do you know? Are you his doctor? I didn't know I had Dr. James Andrews in studio with me right now.
I didn't know Dr. Nick was operating on his shoulder. I mean, you assume he's going to be a healthy quarterback this year.
I don't know about that. Shoulder injuries are a little bit dicey.
But it wasn't his throwing shoulder.
Okay, if your point is 2020 Baker Mayfield was better than Ben here last year, I will buy that.
The idea that if you were to
Baker from 2 years ago.
The idea that if you were to pick up Baker Mayfield, you would be presumably picking up a healthy Baker Mayfield. If you assume those two things at face value, and again, not his throwing shoulder, a la Drew Brees, who I think recovered pretty nicely from his big surgery.
I thought it was an elbow problem for him.
Brees's was a rotator cuff, I think.
Okay.
Or a labrum.
Thank you, Dr. Chow. Continue.
Unbelievable. Donnie, we're getting unbelievable ad hominem attacks right now from a guy who
Donnie,
doesn't
do you
want
want
to hear
Baker
the truth.
Mayfield
He
on the
doesn't want to
cheap?
hear
Let's
the
hear
truth,
it. Let's
Donnie.
get the football guy.
But he's better healthy than Ben was last year.
What would you clarify as cheap?
$2 million.
Free, yeah, I was going to say.
I think it's a no-brainer.
You would want him?
Yeah.
Oh,
$2 million?
God.
Dude,
That's nothing in the NFL.
I do just think he's such unbelievable poison in the
He's
locker
like the
room.
old maid. Remember that playing? You ever played
If
that
you
game?
get the old maid, you're screwed. Or he's like spinning the wheel on Wheel of Fortune when you've got a bunch built up and then you hit bankrupt and you got to go
Exactly.
back to zero. He is locker room poison.
Yep.
He is a
He's team
try-hard.
obliterator.
He is a try-hard who continually feels like he's got something to prove. And while some guys use that chip on their shoulder to like motivate them properly, it has completely consumed him.
He's the most
almost from day
punchable guy
one.
in the entire NFL.
Now that Cortland Finnegan's been gone for a while, that's God. I bet you people would have put Roethlisberger right near the top of that list too. Haloti Ngata definitely would feel that way about him.
But I feel like a punch to Ben, especially from one of us, wouldn't get us very far.
I think Baker is not exactly like a small, delicate human being, though.
Really?
He's built like a fire hydrant. Ben just has the mobility of one.
But just like I've said about Jay Glazer over
Also,
the
are
years,
we
you
suppo-
catch a guy right
No, well,
flush in the nose, he
stop
goes
this.
down.
Are we supposed to be talking about comparing ourselves to pro athletes anymore after this 40 thing?
Hey, I got under 6 seconds.
So did I.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on all your running success.
I don't think we should be talking about pow, wham, right in the kisser. I would sign for Baker Mayfield if the price was right based solely on talent. The sheer amount of baggage relative to playoff success that he has had or overall success is so overwhelmingly negative, though. That is what does it in for me. Like, you don't make these deals in a vacuum. Also, furthermore, I know Starkey has, and I'm not going to rip Joe for this because you and I both have done this. Starkey is claiming multiple trains. Trubisky train, now the Baker train. You and I were on the Rodgers train and the Jameis train. We can't say anything there. Stones from a glass house. But, like, if you're bringing this guy in, right, you are not bringing him in with the expectation he battles, I think, with anybody either because he thinks he's the starter. Are you not?
Oh, I think it would break him if he knew he had to compete for a
Right,
job with
so
somebody.
you're not bringing him in. Like, when people say, like, I'm excited about this, I think they're just thinking about it in a vacuum. Nothing about him is in a vacuum. That's kind of the problem here.
I also think it would look so embarrassing for the Steelers to go after a guy who had failed out of Cleveland.
Because it's not the same as Hayden.
didn't fail there.
They just
He
didn't
was
want
getting
him.
older. He had been a little injury prone, and they were in like tank mode. They were trying to lose games on purpose, in air quotes, with Hugh Jackson and Paul DePodesta and their Moneyball thing, and trying to go 1-15 and 0-16 and get the picks to draft Baker Mayfield, their supposed franchise quarterback. Hayden was a casualty of that. This guy was so bad and was so immature that they went out and traded for somebody that has 23 or 22 civil cases pending for sexual misconduct and sexual assault.
And there's a rumor
And they could
that
not wait to get off this guy to do it. And they had no
There's
exit
also-
strategy for Baker Mayfield. They still don't.
Pony, there's a rumor going around that part of the reason that Watson had them off the list and then they came back and made this crazy offer that clearly got his attention was Baker had gone so radioactive with everything that they realized they had to do something drastic because he wasn't playing ball with them.